economy is looking pretty bleak the world over. Unemployment is rising here in the UK. Businesses are collapsing, especially in the retail sector. But at least, the people in control, the politicians, they still have their job security. They still have their guaranteed pensions, while the rest of us watch our future investments wither away. Huge amounts of public money are being pumped into the UK banking system, and yet lower interest rates are not being passed on to those who owe money, and the banks are still shedding staff. So I think that sometimes we just have to accept that life isn't fair. And although this can be upsetting when we see life being unfair to other people, it's particularly hard when life seems to be unfair to us personally. It can make times seem scary, but it's important that you're not afraid, or at least that you don't let fear consume you. You've mentioned some pretty testing and trying times in your own past that you've been strong enough and resourceful enough to deal with. And not just in the sense that you've survived them, you've come out of them better equipped for the future. You already know that you can handle the shitty end of the stick, so don't let fear overwhelm you. Don't let fear paralyse you. But then again, I suppose from what we've seen of you, we know that that isn't you. You might be vulnerable, but that doesn't mean that you're not strong. I mean, you've already started preparing by sorting out your CV and looking for what other jobs might be available. How many of your other colleagues are doing the same thing? How many of them do nothing more than go home and pray to their God for deliverance or hope for the best, rather than actually take some kind of action of their own? And for every one of these people, you're in a better position. Now, if that sounds a bit cold, you did mention how you think that people's attitudes change when money's involved. It's not really meant to be. What I'm saying is that we're all responsible for our own lives. And whilst that doesn't mean that we can't feel compassion for people who've lost their livelihood or who are worse off than us, it also means that we don't have to feel guilty about looking after ourselves. If you're looking at a particular vacancy, a particular position that's being advertised, you have to be better than somebody else in the job market. And just because the job market is a bit tougher now than it was a couple of years ago, that doesn't really alter that. So I'll say, as well as not being afraid, don't feel guilty if you keep your job or you find a new one whilst other people can't or won't. And if you're offered an interview, even for a job that you don't feel you want or you don't feel qualified for, go for the interview because it's good practice. It's always possible that you'll find something better than what you have now. So have faith. Not blind faith that everything will work itself out all right in the end, that there's some kind of natural justice or some guardian angel that's looking out for you. But have faith, have trust in yourself, trust based on what you know, what you already know you can do. Take comfort in the fact that you have the ability to pick yourself up and move on after you've been knocked down, and that you can do that again and again. You've got a great skill that gives you a huge advantage over those who simply lie there and feel sorry for themselves, those people who give up as soon as the going gets a little bit tough. An advantage over those who have to wait for someone else to come and pick them up. And it might not always be easy, and it might not always be pleasant, but change, especially change that's forced on us, often teaches us things about life and about ourselves that we would otherwise never have learned.